Hey there, in this tutorial I made a little wizard's tent from baby wipes. It came out quite, as you can hear, it's quite solid, yet it still has a little flexibility. It's almost like dried leather the way it's come out. I saw a tutorial by EBI Crafter or EBI Crafter. I hope I pronounced that correctly, I'm sorry if I didn't. But he made tents using baby wipes, and I had been trying for days using tissue, which was really difficult and unsuccessful. And after seeing his tutorial, I made this, and it was far easier, and I really liked the results. So from his tutorial to this tutorial, I hope that you find this tutorial useful, and I hope you enjoy the video. I just cut a simple block of XPS foam into a U shape, and then I marked it with a pencil into the pattern I liked, and then I just scored lines into it with these toothpicks to make wood grain. I did them just vertically on the bottom and horizontally on the top, and they come out quite nice looking, nice and quick, and you don't tear it if you use toothpicks instead of a wire brush. And I stain it with ink, like everything. I did a couple of bookshelves, which the tutorial is in my last video, and I did a barrel, which I have a video for as well, and also a crate. I will leave links for all of these. So after that plug for all those videos, I stain everything with ink again. This ink does about 80% of the work when it comes to painting anything foam. It does it all. Can't go wrong with ink. I should be selling this stuff, I can't stop talking about it. It looks great though after it's done. I just got some little wooden skewers and popsicle sticks to make the little frame for the tent. I used the little stand as my guide to make sure that the size is correct. And I just laid them down and glued them on this way. I made a little excess at the front just for the hangover of the canopy. I also just put some little extra pieces on just for supports, just to make sure everything was nice and stable, to stop it all wobbling around while I was working on it. And it looks alright as well. I used watered down PVA glue on these baby wipes. They're so stretchy and strong. They're a little heavier than paper, but it's worth it because they're just so strong. It was impossible to use tissue. I just dunked them into the watered down PVA and squeezed them out, and then just started laying them on. I made this up as I was doing it, so it was fiddly and complicated. This was my practice go, so I really didn't know what I was doing. I think I would have definitely cut away some excess of the baby wipe because it's just a little bit much and a little heavy and clunky to work with. So maybe you could just do a sort of a practice run on a frame. I don't know, it's something that will take a bit of practice, but I'm definitely going to do this again. I really enjoyed the process, and the results were really excellent. I used the plastic coated paper clips. They were better than the others. The others were sticking into the fabric. I sort of folded it and tried to sort of manipulate it, but it's not really heavy enough. So I decided to go and put a really heavy layer of watered down Mod Podge on it, just sprayed it, completely saturated it, just so I could get the fabric to start draping and hanging and letting its own weight pull it down. You can see after it's been completely drenched, it's really starting to pull, and it really helped tighten the entire process as well, so it would cling to the frame a little better. And then after that, I went a bit crazy with just the straight up Mod Podge and just let it bleed entirely through the whole thing because I wasn't sure how solid this would come out. So that's probably why it came out like leather, but it worked. but there was a lot of glue involved. Once it dried, I just sort of glued the sides in a little bit to the little posts as well, and just tried to reshape everything to make sure that it was the way I wanted it before I'd start painting it. And it's not too bad. I'm happy with how solid it is. Now it's time for some brown ink. Fingers crossed it will actually work out. I haven't used it on fabric before, but I found that it seems to be able to work on everything. Cardboard, foam, wood, so why not baby wipes? Is there anything brown ink can't do? Not that I know of. The moment I put this on and saw it start bleeding into the fabric, I knew it was going to be a really good thing, and it is. Though I did struggle doing the interior, there was just so many folds, so I got some black spray paint and had a quick coat in there, even though it did sort of seep through from the other side. I didn't want to spend 6 months wasting my time with my ink, so I gave it a quick go on it. Oddly enough, the ink has given it the look of leather, and even though it's got the texture, it's kind of a weird thing. It really is very leathery, but I like it. There's a lot you could do with this. It's a really good learning curve, this one. I wanted to make the tent red, but of course, well, with the brown ink and some burnt sienna and a red, I just want to really darken it right up, almost just to a brown, and start building the reds through it. You don't want to just go slapping a bright red onto it, because it's just going to look strange, and you want to get into the folds a little bit before you start building highlights as the red builds lighter and lighter. Now it's got a nice full coat of the initial darker brown. I just want to start building with a slightly lighter red. It's hard to notice the difference, but when you do it overall, you can start to see it. And then I just do the last one with just the plain red, and I just use paper as a palette, so it'll really help unload my brush. You don't want too much going on. You can see it really picking up with the colour now. That looks good. It really helps with the dimensions and makes it look far deeper. God, that's leathery looking. I like it. I'm going to put a little frill along the front of the tent. I use a cotton fabric, something that's got a really light weave in it, because you're going to want it to fray. When I put it on, I have to make sure that the part that is exposed outside does not get glue on it. So you need to be a little cautious. You can still pull the threads off, but it makes it complicated. So make sure when you place it in, you get the glue only on the inside and not on the outer parts of the fabric. I ended up changing this to a ribbon because I didn't like the colour of the other fabric I was using, but it's the same trick. Once I've got it on, you just start pulling the threads away. It's a little fiddly to get it going sometimes. As you can see, the fringe or the frill is starting to come along. See, I'm struggling on that little spot there where you can see the glue has set out on the outside of the fabric where I did not want it. So the more cautious you are with it, the easier this will be to pull off. When that's done, it's a nice little trick. It's a little fine detail that's it's worth doing. The same thing with these little rugs. There's exactly the same thing you do with the fabric. So you just get a little printed out piece of paper with a little printed rug, and then you put it on some cotton fabric, whichever colour you'd like. You glue it down nice and evenly, and then you cut exactly evenly around the edge where you want the edge of the rug to be. And then you pull the threads away and it'll stay fast where the glue is and it won't keep pulling. And then you have a miniature rug. I'm just going to paint up the stand with a very similar red that I used on the tent canopy. I just like to use colours that stay in uniform with each other so things don't stand out too much. I made some little little signs, bits of paper, little, pages from books. I just dunked them in brown ink, of course, and then I just did some scribbly, nonsensical stuff because it's so small. It makes sense somehow. These are just fun little details. I did put a little bit of gold paint on the front of the stand as well. None on top, just the ink the way it was. Stuck one of those little signs on and put the bookshelf in. And just some little bits and pieces. Some things I don't even know what that thing is. It looks like some sort of abalone lump, I don't know. On a little plate that I made, a little bottle, a little scroll on a silver dish, a book, which is also in another video. There's a lot of links to put in. A golden egg. Because wizard stalls always have golden eggs, we know that. Just a bead that looks like some sort of cylindrical container. I like it. Catches light well as well. It's nice. Some more little leaflets. And just all the bits and pieces that were previously made to put down. The chest, I just put a couple of strips of gold paper around them. It's so simple, but they look so good when you do them. And some more books. Barrel, just a couple of strips of silver paper around it after the brown ink, and a couple more leaflets on top. This little thing was just made out of a couple of beads that I used a gold pen around each one and had a toothpick down the middle of it. It's a nice little object. And another rug. That was just a printed out, cut out simple thing, but it fills the void nicely. And I put some little lights in. I just hot glued them in really briefly because it really needed light inside this tent. It was so dark in there. I also put a few little beads on a piece of string on that little beam that was across the front, just to give something else to catch the light. Gosh, everything's falling over. The last bookcase. And that's it. I didn't glue any of this down because I'm going to use it for a diorama later down the track. But it looks nice just sitting on the board, and I like the lighting in it. And I hope that you did find this tutorial useful, and I'll see you next time. One last boop.